Good day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is David. Today we're going to continue our iChair eCommerce website. And in the previous session we have finalized the hero path, the site menu, and the top header. And you can see that all these animations has been correctly performed. So in today's session, what we're going to do is to continue this one and keep building the remaining section. We're going to build a product section, and also we're going to create this individual item page that shows the details of the chair products that allow the user to select the colors and change the quantity, and at the end add it to the shopping cart. Go to the shopping cart, the items there. So today we're going to finalize all whole sorts of this process. If you haven't got a chance to watch my previous session, please go back to see my session 1. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to catch up. Alright, let's just jump in and do it now. So in the previous section, what we basically built, if you look at the app.view file, we have the sidebar, the header, and inside this main we have a wrapped out router view. This router view refers to the things that has been constructed inside this router folder, which is the index.js. And here you get to set up different routes for this project. So far we only have one route, which is the home page, but later on we're going to set up more routes for the product detailed page, the shopping cart page. We will have probably 3 or more routes for this entire application, right? And for the home view, we have so far built a template which only contains the banner part. But now today we're going to create that product section, and it's going to be wrapped inside the home view as well, because the product section is also on the home page, right? The product section, the service section, the contact, these are all going to be loaded on the home page. So they are sharing the same roots. So what we're going to do here today, the first step is to create a new section inside our section folder, and that is specifically for the home page. So here, let's close off this view and router. So inside your source folder, so you could create a new folder, and that one is called sections. So this section is to hold the different sections on the different pages. And so far, we're going to create a section called products. So that's going to be products.view. And enter, so you have that one done. And we're gonna initialize a view template, so we say view init, something like so. And we do not need that language, and we want to have this one to be the composition component, so we say setup and delete this one. And for the style, we're just gonna do a scope style. And to think about it, to have this product section, we need to do a data fetching of all the chair products, and map those data into this cart template. So this cart template is obviously a isolated component, so we're going to create a separate component to hold the details of the chair, which is going to be a cart, and then we're going to map all the data into this cart template, right? So that's our building logic. So going back, inside here we have our products done, and the next thing to do is to think about the child component, which is the product cart. So what we're going to do next, save this one for now, and you go to your component folder and you create a new file. That file is going to be called item cart. This item cart is reusable. If you have any other positions or place in your app that you want to use this item cart, you can absolutely use it again, right? So we're going to initialize a view template for this one as well. We don't need actually the language. Leave the div. This one we're going to make a composition component, so we say setup. And this one we're just going to make sure all the CSS are scoped to that component only. If you want to make it global, you can change it later on, right? So now we have the parents component, and now we have the child component. The next job is just to do the data building and map this data that we get from our backend API. Remember, in our previous session, we have built up our mock API using JSON server, and which is on the localhost 4000/item. So now we're just going to make another data fetching request to this backend, and then once we have the data, we're going to map it into our component. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can look clearer. All right, so the data mapping is going to be started from the script. So let's just do it now. So what we're going to do here is to create a local state variable, something called items. That one is going to be a ref, so we import that ref from view, and that ref will be in an empty array initially, because we need to do a data fetching from the backend. Once it's loaded, this thing will be changed. All right, so we have that one done. And next, we're gonna do a like the unmount. We use the unmounted method to call the data from the backend. This is the method that will be triggered whenever your components get first loaded on the DOM. And it comes within an arrow function. So inside here, we trigger an arrow function and we say fetch. And we fetch from that backend that we built in the previous session, which is this one, this one. So we just copy that routes, going back. We fetch from this routes. So once we get it, we'll say then. We're gonna have a response, and we dissolve that response to our JSON, to our JavaScript object. So we convert it to JavaScript, and then we want to set the local variable to the data that we get from the backend. So we say then, which is another promise to be resolved. We say data, and we map that into data items.value equals to data. This is going to be an arrow, something like so. So now you have your data ready, right? So not finished yet, because to think about it, if in the process you encounter any errors, you need to have a error handling process, which is going to be the catch. So here we say catch. We're going to map this error into our console. So we say console.log. Probably in the real project, you can pop this error onto the DOM as well. You can using some third-party libraries like a Toastify to notice the people that you got an error, or you can build a div on your template to show this error. It's multiple ways to solve this, but so far in our project, I'm just gonna leave it in the console for simplicity purpose. All right. So now we have that thing done, and now what we can make sure of is that this item, after fetching the data, will become the data. Right? Remember, we are using the view ref. The view ref, you want to access the genuine data, you have to say items.value. Value is a built-in property of that item. So if you say item equals to data, that's going to be an error, because only the value will contain the genuine data. So that's how it works. And once we've done that, we're going to set up our template as above. So here we say we delete this one. We create a new section and give this section ID of a product tab. And we want to have the same class name of product as well. So now we wrap everything inside this section, and in here we create a container, which is the Bootstrap container. And inside this container we create a row, and inside this row we will have the h4. Firstly, we're going to load our section title, and we're going to say section title is going to be products, something like that. And what we're going to do is to create a class name for it. We say class section title. All right, so something like so. And next, below that title row, we're going to create a new row. So we say d row, and we want to add a bit of a margin to the top. So we say m4. MT4, that means margin to top 4, and 4 is the scalable amount. In Bootstrap, we have the number scales from the 0 to 5. 5 means the maximum amount you can get in terms of margin and paddings, and 4 is like the second highest. All right, so we add that to margin, and then down here we're going to map the data into our card. Okay, so we're going to create a structure for it. And in the Vue project, the way to do the data mapping is not to use the JavaScript higher order array function map. Instead, we're going to use a for loop, which is the built-in Vue for loop. So we're going to say div. First, we give a class name, and we want to make this one. I'm going to create a div first, actually. Over here, we create a class name. So we're going to wrap it into a column structure. So we say XL, that means extra large devices. We're going to make sure this one takes a 4 column. And on the large devices, this one going to take a 4 column, extra large takes 3 column, and we want to make sure on the middle sized devices, this one takes a 6 column, which is a half, and add a bit of margin to the top as well. So we say mt-4. So with the help of the Bootstrap, or you use Tailwind, you all have the ability to access the convenience of setting up the responsive structure. Otherwise, it will take you quite a lot of code to do so. So once we've done that, we know that this is going to be in a looping, because it's going to be repeated many times depending on how many things you have in the array. So inside this array, we actually got 8 items. And we know that when we do the data for loop, this thing is going to be repeated for 8 times. How do we achieve that? And the way to do so is to use something called v-for. So we're just going to change a new line. We say v-for. And for each item inside items, so we actually don't need an index. The index is a built-in parameter within the for loop. It just shows the index of the item in the array. But sometimes if you have a built-in ID, you don't have to use that index for it. Right? For items inside items, we want to bind the key to items dot underscore ID dot ID. Let's see if it's underscore ID or yeah, it's ID. All good. So we'll bind it. So now we have set up the structure for the for loop, and next job is to decide what kind of thing you want to repeat. We're going to repeat as a item card, right? So it's something we have built previously in a child component. So we say items card like that, and close this one. Inside here, we're going to pass our item, which is the individual item, as a property. So we create a property name called item, and that one binded to the item itself. Right? So this is different. This is the view property name you just created, and this is the property value you binded to this one in the parentheses, which is the genuine JavaScript objects data that you fetched from the backend. All right, that's different. And this colon is just for binding. You want to bind this property to this value. Initially, it's going to be vbind item, something like that. It works the same way. You can see there's no error with it. But as a shortcut, you could just type the colon to replace the original vbind colon, which is the same. All right. So now we have the structure set up all good, mapped into the item card. The remaining thing is just going to be the style for the products. There really isn't much style to be applied here. So what we're gonna do is just to make sure the product's background changes to this sort of like a gray-black color, all right? Dark gray color. Yeah, and that's all. That's pretty much it. And the one last job is that because you have mapped into the item card, make sure you import it inside your JavaScript script, otherwise it won't be working. So here we say item card, like so. So it actually auto imports item card view from that component folder, but our name actually don't have the view, so I'm just going to delete that. So now everything looks okay for me. So the next work is to set up our child component, because here, remember, we created a property and binded that item property to the value of item, and inside our child component, because you have that property, you must register it before you can use it. So what we're going to do first is inside our script to register our customized property first, and we say const props, and that one is going to equal to define props, like so. And inside here, we use a object to make the definition of it. We say item, and that one is going to be a type of the object. We know we pass in the object, and if it's compulsorily required, and the answer is yes, so we say required true, like so. And now you have successfully registered the property of item. Once you've done that, you can legally use it inside this template, otherwise it will pop up with an error. Okay, and inside the template, what we're gonna do is to set up our card. So this div, we're gonna give it class name called card. All right. And if you look at the original design, you will see this card all have this a circled background with those beautiful hover effects. However, the color of those are dynamic. It changes according to the color of the chair. And actually, if you look at the data, this BG color over here has been predefined, which is used to match up the product color, the product building color. All right. So we're gonna have to make this background color dynamic as well in our design. So going back here, we say we're gonna create a element called card BG. So that's going to set our background color tab, and then we're gonna bind its style to our value from the backend because we want to make it dynamic. And the way to do so is to wrap it with the curly braces inside a double quotation. I know that the view way of writing this JavaScript built-in thing is kind of weird. That is because you're getting so used to React project. But once you create a few Vue project, you will find it's actually not that bad. It's still handy. It's still convenient. At least I like it myself. And inside this curly braces, we're going to create this background. So it's a background. And we want to bind it to item.bg color. How do I know that item have a BG color? You must stick to your data structure to see what the fields that each data have. It has that color, which is the product initial color. This is the initial quantity, and we have the background color, which has been used to decide what kind of a background color you want to show as the demonstration for that specific product. All right. So once you learn all of these data structures features, you can use them widely. So now we create an element purely to show that background, and later on we're going to CSS it to make it style properly. And the next thing is going to be our image, because the original design will have to show the picture of that image. So inside here we say div, we create an image box, and inside this image box we're going to bind our image and the source using that colon to do data binding. We're going to bind it into our image from the backend. So we say item.image URL. How do I know that item have this property? If you look at the data, you can see each item have a data property called image URL, which contains the roots of that image. And I'm going to use it popped over here. All right. So that's one more thing to be done. And below that image box, what we're going to do is to load the content of that image. So we say div, and that's going to be our content box. And this content box, firstly, we're going to show the name of the product. So we'll create a h2, and the Vue project using the double curly braces to load the dynamic value of the data. And item.name is going to be loaded here. And below that, if you look at the original design, it's going to be the name of the product, the color, the price, and also the learn more button. So we're going to show the color first. This color is dynamic, and also it's going to be changed according to the different color of the product based on the database. So if the database colors got different array that contains different color, this part should show differently as well. Okay. So here below that h2, we'll create a new div, and that one is going to be called color. And inside this color, we create a title h3, and to show the name of this section, which is going to be color. And below that, we use the span to load the actual color dots on the DOM. Okay, so we create a span, and that span is going to be repeating, because remember, if you look at the data structure, each item got a colors array, and that colors array actually contains multiple colors. Instead of hard coding each one, we're going to map through or loop through this colors array and fetch each object's property color and show it on the DOM. All right, so that's how we handle it. So here the span, we're going to do a for loop to loop through all the value in the color. For loop, let's say color in item.colors, and we do a key bind, so colon key, when we bind it to color.id, because if you look at that, each color actually got a unique ID, which can be used to serve as a key. If it doesn't have an ID, you don't have to worry. You just use a built-in index. Remember, this one has a built-in index variable, which can also be served as a key. All right. So now we've done that. We have the key done, and the next line we're just gonna have our styles binded dynamically. So we change this one to a new line as well. So this one styles, and we do a binding. I want to make sure that the background color changes to the color in the array. So we say background, that one, colon, color.color. So don't get confused. The first color, this one, refer to each color inside the colors array, which is going to be an object. And if you look at it, each color object also got a color property. All right, we use that period to access the property of each color object. That's why I have this color.color. All right, don't get confused here. So once we've done that, we should have this color done, and that's another part. So inside the content box, we have the product name, we have the color, and then the next one is going to be our pricing below that color. And the pricing, if you look at the original, this one got the original price, right? But if you look at others, this one, For example, the original price has been crossed out and we show a new price. The reason is because this one has a discount. And the same for this one as well, so they have a probably certain percentage of discount. So it's a dynamic showing of that price. You have to identify which one has a discount or which one does not have a discount and show them differently on the DOM. So when we come back to our editor, what we're going to do here inside the price, so this is the color section. We create a new div, we say div.price, we'll create that one first. And inside this, actually the class name is pricing. Inside this pricing, what we're going to do is also use the span to show our price. So we create a span and give a class name called price. So inside here, supposedly we're going to show the price of the item, but depending on if the item got a discount or not. So to do that, there's going to be some dynamic settings for the styling. So inside here, I change a new line, not a key, change a new line, and we want to set up this binding the styles, and we bind it into a array. So inside this array, we're going to have a heaps of styling, and the first one is going to check whether the item got a discount or not. So we say item.discount. If that one does not equal to 0, if you look at the data, you will know that each item got a discount property. Some of them have the figures in it, that means a 5% discount. Some of them got a 0, basically means that we have a no discount for that item. Alright, and we come back. If the item got no discount, that's going to be double equal. If that one is a true C, what we're going to do is to show a special CSS, and that's not equal to 0, basically means that we do have some discount for that item, and we're going to show that a red line cross through, so we say text decoration, and that one is going to be a line through, like so, and then we say a text decoration color, and that one is going to be red, and then we want to change the font size to 1 rem. So basically means if the discount does not equal to 0, we do have some discount. This is the original price part. The original price will be crossed out, and the crossing line is shown in red. Alright, and then inside our span, we're going to show that price. So here we use a double curly braces. We show that item.price dot, and sometimes the price shows in the original format, but we do want to have the comma after every 3 digits. If that's a scenario, you're just going to use this function called toLocaleString. That's all. If you add this method, that will automatically add the comma after every 3 digits. If only 2 digits, it won't be added anywhere. Okay, so that's something. So, and once we've done that, this is going to show our price. And then next to it, we have to see that if the item does have some discount, we're going to show the price of the discount as well. So we create another span, and this span got a class name of price as well, same as the above one. And inside here, we just have to conditionally rendering this part using the v-if. So we say v-if item.discount, and that one does not equal to 0. Basically means that we do have discount, and this is going to show the price of the discount. So inside the span, we use that double curly braces. I move this up a bit, and we show that the price of the discount using that a curly brace, sorry, a parenthesis. And inside here we do a math calculation with the item.price, and that one times 1 minus item.discount, something like so. So 1 minus item.discount basically means it's the price percentage of the discount, and you time that original price, which will give you the price of the discount. Alright, so after you've done all of this, we dot this one here. We're going to use a toFixed. It's probably going to end up with a multiple decimal places, but we do want to keep it short. So we say toFixed 0. We only want to keep the integer part. All right, we do not want to see the decimal places, or you want to pass it into integer. That's going to be okay. But anyhow, we have achieved this, all of the things. So I just briefly go through this logic again. Here inside this price, if the discount does not equal to 0, basically means the item does have some discount. We're going to conditionally show this styling. which is the line through, and the line color is going to be in red, and will pop up with the price of the item. This is always going to be the original price, and it's only that the original price will get crossed out or not depending on the discount status. Alright, if the item does have some discount, we're going to also show the user the price after discount and keep it to 0 decimal places. Alright, okay, so now all that things has been done, and below this one, just give you the whole picture. I reduce it a bit. So after the pricing, here, what we're going to add on is going to be the button. If you look at it, we've done the color, we've done the price, and next thing is going to be the button with a link that will allow the user to see the individual page of that item. So here we're going to say a router link, and close that off, and router link. So inside this router link, the router link is actually just a anchor tag. All right, we have to bind a to, which is the kind of a page you want a user to go to, and inside here we wrap a template literal inside it, inside the double quotation. The template literal, you can dynamically combine the string, the static string, and with the dynamic variable. So we wanted to go to the products /products/ and here we'll use the minus sign, curly braces, to dynamically pop in the item's ID. Alright, so now the item's ID gets popped in, and the user can go to /products/ID. Okay, so inside here, we're just going to create a learn more, and we're just going to pop in a Bootstrap icon. You can search this icon from the Bootstrap website, which is very easy, which is the arrow right. That's all. Alright, so now we have all the templates done for this card, and the last job is to quickly pop in the CSS bit, so the card will be looked properly. I'll copy and paste in all the CSS, and I will briefly go through them for you so you can see what's going on there. So here we go. I popped in all the CSS. Because it's a sort of like a complicated CSS design, that's why it's so prolonged. It's not a simple product card. It's a customized product card design. First, we're going to make a minimum height for the card, otherwise it will shrink down, and then give us a decent background color and border radius. Any overflow will be hidden. Alright, we'll give a bit of a box shadow so it can stand out from the DOM. For the background color, which is this one, because we want to dynamically show the different color for the background, so that's why we make it a position of absolute. Make sure it's sitting on the top left corner, and then because it's showing the round shape, we're going to use that clip path, this one, to show that a round shape with the background color. By default, it's going to be set to the primary color, but here we have bound the style, the background property, to the item background color dynamically. So this bit will actually override whatever you have set up over here. So this one is by default, we're always going to show some color, otherwise it will be transparent, but it will be overwritten by the template above when you show the color dynamically. Alright, so and then when the card is on hover, this background color will change to another circle, which is a bigger one. That's why when you hover on it, you will see this circle animation. That is because it changes from a small circle to a bigger one. Alright, but the position actually doesn't change. It's just this cool dynamic effects on the hovering. And then after that, it's going to be quite easy. We have a pseudo element after, which shows the game. And if you look at this one, it has a very fainted text word behind the scene that shows the game, right? Something like that. And inside the image box, we just can make sure that image box have a certain good position and width and height. And the image on hover, when the card is on hover, the image box is going to be at top of -15%, and that's why when I hover on it, you will see this image, the picture of the product that gets lifted up, right? It's all depending on the hover effects. And for the image itself, and we're going to make sure that we have that position set up properly as well. And for the content box, it's just the alignment and the font size settings, which is quite easy. I'll slowly go through this and you can have a look yourself. And I'm pretty sure that today's stage, if you can build a Vue or React project, you should be okay with all of those basic CSS settings. This is no hard challenge for you. You can just go through them yourself. I already explained the most challenging and the most interesting part for you. The remaining stuff is just going to be quite standard. So I slowly go through. Yeah, that's pretty much all. And once we've done that, our next thing is going to put our product entire section, which contains the child card, into our home view. So inside our home view, we go to the banner below that. We say product, not produce products. So something like that. Sometimes the auto import not working. If it's not working, you just have to manually import it, which is okay for me. And we say products. And that one is going to be from the section view and products. Alright, so now we have our products imported and loaded on the home view. And the home view, remember, is going to be part of our routes. If we go to the routes, the router have the slash, which is the root routes that contains the home view component. And this one, the router exported JS, index.js, will be loaded over here as a router view on our app.view component. So hopefully this one now can be shown. Yep, it has been successfully loaded on our current project with no errors. As you can see, the original price gets crossed out, and the current price after discount is shown, and all the hovering effects works okay now. Alright, that wraps up the end of the product section. Our next job, if you look at the hero section, this one, the learn more, and also this one, the learn more, in the original design, both will give you the chance to take the user to that individual page of the product, which contains the product ID. So our next job is just going to build the individual page for that product, which allow the user to see more details and choose the color they favor, and also change the quantity, and also give the user the chance to add an item to the shopping cart if they're interested. Well, my website is running slow, so this one still spinning. Just refreshed up a bit. Alright, so our next job is just going to show that individual page of the product. Let's jump in and do it now. So to create that product view detail, we first are going to create a new view inside our view folder, and then we're going to load our view into our router. So inside the view folder, create a new file, and we call it product details view, like so. And then we're just going to initialize it. So view init, we create a boilerplate, and we delete that language. We don't need this optional API setting. Instead, I'm going to replace it with a setup. And this one, we're going to make it a scope, like so. So now we have that product detail view template. And here we're just going to maybe add in something just for demonstration purpose. And we say product details, like so. And now we have it. The next job is to load this one into our index file inside our router. So we do not need this previous one. Instead, the easiest way is just to copy this one and put it down below and create a new one. So here we're going to change the path to product /:ID. If you set ID, that's going to be wrong, because the route will identify the ID as a part of the string, and it will take the user to the product /ID. However, if you add a colon, this one will be identified as a whole as a route parameter. So you can pass in dynamic ID into the routes. So that's how to take the user to different product details. Alright, and the name here, we're just going to set it to product. And component, instead of the home view, we're going to load the product details view. And you can see this one has been automatically imported right above, and it's down here. Everything has been set up correctly. And now the next job is just to test out if we do have this page. Okay, so we now are going to the browser, and just to test out, we add /product/1. This is going to be our route, and then enter. It does take us to that page. Alright, and next thing to show is that how do we get the route parameter 1? Because if you look at it, we're currently on the /product/1. 1 is a dynamic route parameter. We are supposed to be able to get this route parameter and load our data inside our DOM. And the way to do so is that inside our product view, we're going to the script, and inside the script, we're going to import something called use root from the view router. And then we're just going to import that, use root, import it from the view router. So once you have that, you can set up your route parameter, access it in a way using the function. So we say const, we set up a new parameter called root, and that one is going to equal to use root, opening closing parentheses. And then now down below, you're just going to create a new variable called ID, and we use that root to access our route parameter. So we say root.programs.id. The reason why it can have an ID is because inside our index file of the root, we have set up a colon ID here. So the name has to match. If this one is a colon product ID, and this one here is going to be programs.column ID, it has to match up. Alright, so now we have it, and then we're just going to randomly or just dynamically add this ID into our template to see if it can show on the DOM. And then we go to the DOM, this one here. As you can see, the one is there, and this one has been overwritten by the side menu, but you do get to see this one changes to 1. If I put a route, say for example, I type in 2, and this one will be loaded to 2 on the DOM. So that basically means that our DOM is able to access the route parameter, and we can use this approach to access the data, the individual data of over here, because this backend also serves the individual GET request. If we say localhost 4000/items/1, and you can see it only gives you the first item, so we can make the backend request, the individual GET request based on the ID of the product. Alright, so the next job to build the product detail view is to use this ID to make the data fetching from the backend and then serve that data into our product view details template. So to set up our template, right above we delete this testing tag and we create a new one. So we say a new div called product details. And then we want to add a bit of a padding to the vertical. So we say padding Y. Y means both up and bottom. So we say gonna add a size 5 to the padding. And inside here, we're gonna say div.container. Wrap everything inside the container, and then we have a row. And inside this row, we're gonna think about the structure of the page. If you look at the original design, and then we go to an individual one. As you could see, this one comes in 3 parts. On the left hand side is going to be 3 images showing a different angle of the product. And by the way, I used the random chair image for demonstration purpose only. In the real world, you could probably want to show the bottom of the chair, the back of the chair, and also from the side of the chair or the top of the chair. And I'm just using some random image for demonstration purpose. In the middle, we're going to show the main image of the product. On the right hand side, we're going to show the details, the name, the price, and also the product details, the color and the quantity, and also the add to shopping cart button. Alright, it comes in 3 parts. So to divide it, we're going to set up the different columns. In total, each row contains 12 columns, but the left one is narrower, the middle one and the right one is sort of like a standard row. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to create a row that we're going to create a 2 column, and that takes probably a tiny part of the row, and we say column -large -2, so that's going to take 2 columns, and inside here we're going to put in our images. And ideally this image is supposed to come from the backend as well, but for demonstration purpose I did not make my items data structure so super complicated. Here you can have another array that says demo image, and that contains an array which holds all the images, but here I just hard-coded those preview images for every one of them for demonstration purpose only. If you like to do fetch the data from the backend, you can do so. And so here we're just going to inside this 2 column put in those hard-coded image, and these things I know they are repeating. If you like to, you can change my data structure over here, add a new array called background image or demo image, and then you're going to do a looping inside your code. You loop through all the image array and show them inside this preview template. That's going to be absolutely up to you. Alright, but here I just leave it like a hard-coded thing, but the remaining information are all dynamic from the backend. So we have our first 2 columns done, which is this one. So we temporarily close that off, and then the next one, what we're going to do is going to be our middle part, which is the dynamic data. So here what we say is to create another div, and we call it column large and 5. So we're going to have a 2 by 5 by 5, which add up together equals to 12. Alright, inside the 5 column, we're going to first load our items image, the main image. So we say here we're going to create an image tag and give a class name called image fluid, like so. And then we're going to bind the source of the image to the image from our backend, so which is going to be our item URL, image URL. As you can see, if you look at the individual one, each one contains that item URL, image URL over here. We're just going to access that property and show it in the source. Alright, and then we're going to add a class, customize the class name called item image as well if we want to do some customization. Right, so that's pretty much for these 5 columns. And you may asking, when this image coming from? We haven't done the data fetching yet. Yes, you are correct. So our next job is that we need to have our data ready before we can access the property of it. So down below, inside the script, we're just going to do another data fetching from the backend. So we say, first, we're going to create a local variable called item, and this item is the same as this item, which will be used to store the data that we get from the backend. Initially, we use a ref, and we're going to set an empty object as the initial state. And since we use ref, we must import it right above. And then next to it, we're going to create a onMount function. In this onMounted function, we're going to load our data fetching method. Alright, so we say onMounted, and it's going to trigger a curly braces, which is the arrow function. And inside this arrow function, we do that data fetch. We use a template literal because our routes contains dynamic data. And if you look at our backend, which is this one, and I copy that route, going back to the editor, which is a localhost 4000/items/1. However, this one is hard-coded. What I want to do is to make this one dynamic. How do we do so? We use the multi-sign double curly braces, and we know that inside our product details view, we have set up our ID over here. Actually, I'm just going to move these two above. It looks more proper. Alright, so we have already accessed the ID from the routes using this route method. Alright, so we're just going to pass that ID in as a part of our routes so that the fetch method can be dynamically fetching different product ID. And the next job is going to be quite easy because we're just going to chain more promise. This one will return a promise. We're going to chain the method to convert our response into a JavaScript array or JavaScript object. So we say response.json to convert it. And next, we're going to set our local item variable, a local item, into the data from the backend. So we say data arrow function, and then we say item.value equals to data, like so. And if in the process we catch up any errors, so far we're just going to console.log that error, console.log error, so something like that. Alright, all good. This is going to be the method that we use to handle the data fetching from the backend. And once the data is fetched, our local state variable item, which is used the ref, will be updated into the backend data and then presented on the DOM. Alright. Once it's done, we can go back to our template and keep composing the next column, which is going to be div. And we give a class name of column -large -5 as well. So as you can see, this is going to be 2 by 5 by 5, which is add up together equals to 12, and it contains the whole row. And inside here, we're just going to have a title, put in our item name, like so. And below that name, we're going to show the item price. So here we say div.item price, like so. Inside this item price, we're going to conditionally rendering the price depending on if the product has a discount or not. So here in the first part, we're going to load the price in the h4 tag, h4, and give a class of a price. And inside here, we use the v-if. We want to make sure the item does have a price before we load it, so we say item price. And inside h4, we're going to show the price. So we say price, and that one going to be equal to, we use the double curly braces to load the data dynamically, item.price, and we're going to use that method called toLocale string to add that comma after every 3 digits. So now is the first part. We have the h4 done. Next to it, we're going to show the discount method. If you look at the original one, we know that this one does not have the discount method, but some chair does have a discount. It's actually a quite important information to present it on the individual page, because the discount can actually attract the user's attention and may increase your sales on the website. So we need to show the discount and discount the price after discount besides it as well. So here we're just going to say a h4, and we give a class name called a discount. And this one will only be shown if the item does have a discount. So we say item.discount, and that's not equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, basically means the item have no discount at all. And inside this h4, what we say is that we use now I tag, because this one will be italic, and then we show the discount amount. We say item dot the discount, and we times that by 100, so you will look at proper discount amount, and we say percentage sign beside it, and we add off. So this is how much off the original price that we can achieve. So we have the discount part done, and then the last but not least part is going to be the price after discount, which will attract the most sales for your website. So this one we give a class name, and we call it current price. Right? So we have the current price, and if this part will only be shown, same logic, if that item got a discount, we will show the price up discount, otherwise it will be hidden. So this one will be conditionally rendered by saying if the item dot discount does not equal to 0, and we show this one, and inside this h4 we create a span, and that span comes with a class name called now, and we say now, right? So now how much is it? And then after that we add a colon, so we say double curly braces to load the dynamic price, which is going to be the same logic of the math that we done in the previous product section. We're doing a bit of a calculation using that 1 minus discount times the original price, and then we keep this time to 2 decimal places. Save it. So the logic is that if no discount, we show the price as original. If there's a discount, we show how much discount you got and what's the price after discount you got. Alright, so all the things has been loaded all together to be shown on the DOM. Let's see if it works. So far, if you look at it, it looks quite nice. We have that 3 images showing the details of the item. This picture is dynamic from the backend root, and then the name is dynamic, the price is dynamic. Everything looks okay now. If now we change this to 3, and it will load the information for 3, and that's going to be 10% off now, so we can get to see the original price, the discount, and the price after discount all together. Alright, so that part of code is absolutely working. And after it, what we're going to do, below the item price, we're going to create a new div. Make sure you inject in the correct position. We're going to create a h4, and we call it a product details, like so. And inside here, we're just going to list some brief information of that product. So we create a paragraph, and then inside this paragraph, we say item.brief, like so. So now the brief information will be loaded. If we go back, as you can see, product detail, this is the brief introduction of that item. Alright, so now the next job is going to handle our color, because it will give the user the chance to choose different color here inside a detailed page. So we create another h4 and name it color. Besides it, we're going to have that color shown in this a span as well as how we designed before. We use that span to hold our color with a different dynamic background color. Okay. So here we create a new div and call it the color. And inside here we say if and item.colors. We're just gonna do a conditional check. We need to make sure the data has been loaded, the color is there, the color array exists before we do the looping. Alright, otherwise it's going to pop up with a data fetching error because in the real world the data comes from the genuine API, and depending on the internet speeds, it might take some time for the data to be loaded, and you must wait until that colors array ready before you can do the looping. And for the looping, we're just going to create a span. Alright, and inside that span we do the for loop. So here we say for loop v4 for color in items dot colors, and we're going to bind it with a key, and we know that key is going to be a color dot id. All right, so then the next one, I'm just going to pop up this in the new line. The next bit is going to be our conditional rendering of the styling, because each span is supposed to show a different color depending on which one you are on now. So we say style, equals to, and we bind it with the background. And that one is going to be color.color, like so. And the next one is going to be a click event. If you look at the original one, the user actually allowed to click on each of those, and there's a blurry effect with that yellow blurry lights. Once the user click on the one that they like, it changes. It swaps from one to another. So this on-click event, we must be able to handle it. And also, when the user changes the color, the data must be stored. When the user add this product into the shopping cart, their chosen color need to be added as well. Otherwise, you lose it. Alright, you will send or deliver the user with the wrong color of the chair, which is incorrect. So here we must create a on-click event to handle that color. And also, which color is the one the user choose, depending on which one is active. If you look at the original data, you will see that in the color object, each one will have an active property. The first one has been set to true by default. The remaining are all false. So when the user click on, we actually need to reset the active status for each color. Alright, so here we're just gonna use the class name to dynamically show the active of different class. And here we bind the active to the color.active. What it does is that only the color with the active of true will be added a active class name, and only the color with an active class name will show that yellow blurry effects and indicate that the user have chosen it. Okay, so that's what it is for. And down here we're gonna have a heap of jobs to do. First, we're gonna write a function that enable the user to change the color. So down here in the description, we're gonna write a function to handle that on-click events to change the color. And what we do is that we create another ref variable, which is the state variable, and we call it a selected color. And that one is going to be the ref. And inside this ref, we pass in a string that contains the default color of the chair. Because even the user haven't been able to choose any one of those, they're supposed to be the default color chosen. Alright, otherwise it will be all empty. So we create one of those, and then another function will be like const handle color change, and that one is going to be an arrow function. We must know which color and which color the user have chosen. So we pass in the ID of the color, and then this one is going to trigger the function like we say. We want to know the selected color must be set to the color the user chosen. So we say select did color dot value. Originally that one has been set to this hex code by default, but once the user passes in their chosen color, we want to reset this value to the user's chosen color, so equals to color. So that's the first thing to do, and this thing will be passed as a part of the value to the shopping cart. Alright, and the next job is to change the active status, because once the user chooses a new color, that one should have that bright blurry effect around it. So we say item. We must map through all the things, and items is what we fetch from the backend. Alright, so item.value, and we access the whole object, and then .colors. Once we've done that, we are able to access only this bit of the item, and then we can loop it through or map it through. So item.values.color.map. Here we use that JavaScript array function to handle the mapping, and we want to go through all the colors, and inside each color, we're gonna set all the color active status to false, and then next we're gonna find out which one the user actually click on. So we say color.id if that triple equals to the one that has been passed in, this one, the pass in as a parameter, and then we want to set that one active status to true, like so, and then we return the changed color. Alright, it will write a very simple function over here to handle the click events. First, it set our local state variable to the color the user chosen, and then we change the active status of the color list. Okay, so once we've done that, we must pass this function into our span so that the click events can be triggered. So going back to our span, what we do is we add a click event, and that one is going to be handle color change. But remember, this one actually takes two parameters. One is the color the user chosen, so we're gonna say color.color, Again, don't get confused. The first color is the color the for loop have reached. The second color is the color property for that color object. Okay, and then that's the color, and then we pass in the second parameter, which is going to be the color's ID, so that the view will know which one the user have clicked on. All right. So now this one should be actually working. And to show it on the DOM, what I'm going to do is to put in our CSS file first in the style. Otherwise, it will look pretty ugly. So we go to that CSS part, and I'm just gonna copy and paste in all of these. It's all very standard CSS settings, nothing really magical. So I'll briefly go through them. We want to make sure that the product details, the font or the titles has been set to white with a certain font family, and give them the proper paddings, and also add some box shadows to the preview image. For the price, we want to make sure it displays inline flex, so basically on the same line. And for discount, we want to make sure it has a shining color, so the user this can grab the user's attention. And then all the remaining one is just setting the font size and the colors. I slowly go through them, and you can pretty much understand on your own. And that's what it is. And later on, we're going to have some quantity settings for the quantity button. I add those CSS already, and on different screen sizes, we're going to make sure that this one is going to be responsive. All right, so that's all the stylings. So once we've done that, what I'm going to check out is going back here. As you can see, this thing has been correctly loaded. And if you click on the second one, the blue one, and actually the blue one shows that yellow shining blurry effects around it, and the first one gets removed off. And if you click on the third one gets to show, and the previous one gets removed off. And this one is all working, all good. All right, so the color is done, and we have to continue our project by keep building that quantity changing part, which is another interesting story. So here, below that color, what we're gonna do here, below that color, we'll create a new title, also gonna be in the H4, and that one is going to be the quantity. And inside here, below it, we say a new class name called quantity, like so. And we're gonna create this button using some sort of an anchor tag. And we say it's gonna be an anchor tag with a class name called quantity button, like so. And then href, we just give that, and then we're gonna have the same thing below. Because remember, if you look at the original design, this one has a minus sign and a plus sign. It's both supposed to working, and the minimum amount is 1, not 0. A lot of people design a e-commerce website with the quantity set by default to 0. The customer at least need to buy 1 to trigger the transaction. Alright, so the minimum is 1, and when it's reached 1, you do not allow the user to reduce any further, otherwise it will be minus. That's going to be a joke on your website. But the increase, we're probably going to set a limit to maybe up to 100 or not, depending on how many stocks you got or how many stocks you can serve at a time. Right? But so far we have these two anchor tag on the left hand side and right hand side. In the middle, which shows the value of that quantity. So going back, these two anchor tag is the minus sign and the plus sign. So inside here, the minus sign, we're just going to add a minus dash inside this anchor tag, and the plus sign, we'll just add another anchor tag, another bootstrap icon, the plus sign inside this anchor tag. So that's all done. And in the middle, wrapped by these two things, we're going to create a span, and that span have a class name called quantity. And inside this quantity, we're going to wrap our dynamic quantity value. But we haven't created yet one. So down below, what I'm going to do is to create, maybe right above, a new ref quantity, and that one is going to equal to a ref of 1. So now you will have the 1 set by default to the quantity value. Alright, number 1. So once you have that, above here, you want to dynamically put that quantity number in, and this one is going to be that quantity 1. Okay, all set up. And our next job is to write a function to trigger that add and minus of quantity down here. So inside our JavaScript, we write a new function called handle quantity change, and that one is going to equal to an arrow function as well. But this one, we need to handle two things. First, you need to identify if the user is trying to add item or reduce item. So we need to have a parameter called add, and that one have a default value of true. So by default, we believe that the user is trying to add items into the quantity, increase the quantity. All right. So we say if add, if that one is true, we're just gonna handle the increase. So we say quantity dot value. We use our local ref variable quantity dot value, and we say plus equal to 1, plus equal 1. That means that every time the user click on once, this one will be added by 1 based on its original figure, and it's accumulatable. Else basically means that the user is not trying to add, it's trying to reduce. So inside here we say, first we're going to do a protection to see what's the current value of the quantity. If the current value of the quantity is less than 2, we are not supposed to allow the user to do any further reduction, and then we just return from that function. Otherwise, we just keep minusing. We say quantity.value minus equal to 1. All right, something like so. This is plus equal to, this is minus equal to. But the minus equal to, we must do a protection, which will disable users' minus behavior once it's reached to a certain level. So once we've done that, we'll add this function back to our anchor tag button over here. And the way to do so is to say at click events, and you know that anchor tag, when you click on it, it has a default behavior of reloading the page, which is very annoying. However, the Vue have a very special way to prevent that from happening. So to prevent the default, we say click stop prevent. So that will stop the page reloading. And then inside here, we're just gonna say handle a quantity change, and then we want to pass in a false, because the first one is going to be the minus. That's why we pass in the false. All right. And the second one over here, we use the same function at click dot stop dot prevent, and here we're going to trigger that handle quantity change. And this one, we just leave it empty because add has been set to true by default. We don't have to manually add in true. Okay, so that's how we trigger this to function using this Vue way. And once we've done that, we're going back to our DOM, which is on our calendar project, and let's try. Yeah, this one is working. You can keep adding it. If you want to set an upper limit to the quantity, you can do so over here. You create a new variable, and then you just need to add a new line similar to this one. If the quantity.value is maybe greater than or equal to than 100, you return from the function. In that way, you can also do the protection to the adding. All right, but here I just assume that the company is capable enough to serve unlimited products without any upper limit, so we just didn't add any protection to the add. But you can do it on your own. So that's another thing we have already handled. And the last thing is going to be our add to cart button. So below that quantity, what I'm going to do, here I will create a button, allow the user to add things to our cart. As you can see in the original one, the user choose the blue one or the orange one, and you can add to the cart. And the cart value here, the cart value changes to 1. And going back, we're going to create a new anchor tag. So we say anchor tag with a class name of add button. All right. So, and that one, we're going to have a margin to the end of 3. And then this one is going to be the hash. And inside here, we'll just say add to cart. Okay. But we do need a function to trigger that add to cart event. So down here, we will write that function inside our JavaScript. But here we actually encountered a very important problem. And if you look at the original project, when you add this item into the shopping cart, this one gets increased to 1, and this one gets increased to 1. They are the same kind of icon. One is being shown on the side, the other one is shown in the header. If we click into it, we go to a different page, which is our cart page, and that loads the item we just added. So there are multiple places in our application you need to access the cart data. All right, so that'll give us a problem, which is if we build our cart as a local variable to store the value, how the entire application is going to share that, is going to access that. which is unable. Alright, so what I'm going to do is to create a global variable to hold our cart value so the entire application can share it. And then the way to do so is to go to our main.js, and now we're just gonna add a few more things. So quite easy. Here we say, after we create app, we say app.provide. Provide basically means that we're gonna provide a global variable and give a name called cart, and give a initial value which is going to be an empty array. That's all. That's how you can create a global variable from the main.js level and using the app.provide. And then every time you want to use this global variable, you can have to access it inside any layer, any child component in your DOM, in your application. Alright, so our next job, we're going back to our product detail view, and here to access that cart, the way we do so is we create a local variable called cart, and that one we use a ref, and inside this ref we actually call the function called inject, and then inject the what? Inject the global variable cart. Alright, this name much matched up. So if you define your global variable as cart, so this one you must inject the cart. It will call that global variable, which is the empty array so far. And make sure that you have also imported this inject method from the view at the very beginning of the script. And once you've done that, you will have the access to that empty array. Instead of creating a local empty array to store the item, we create a global empty array. And then the next function is going to be const handle add to cart. Alright, so we must know which item to be added to the cart, so we say item, and that one is going to be an arrow function. And the item to be added actually comes in different parts. One is going to be the original item that we get from the backend, which is this one that we get from the backend over here. The other two things is the quantity and color, because the user have chosen a new color maybe, and also the user might have set up a new quantity for that item. So we must add these two property and to the shopping cart as well, otherwise it won't be able to show. So what I'm going to do is to create a new variable inside this function called item to add, and that one equal to is going to be the new object. We're going to using the spread operator dot item to copy the existing item, and then we're going to add in the color, which is going to be the selected color, and then dot value, because we are using ref, and then quantity, which is going to be our current quantity dot value. So in that way, we add two more property to the existing item object and pass them all together into our shopping cart as a new object. Okay, so that's what it is. And then our next job is, next we're going to check if our shopping cart has already have the same item, because you do not want to add the same item twice as two separate line into our shopping cart, right? So, and to do the checking, and we're going to write a method like if, write a if statement. We'll say we map through that cart dot value using another JavaScript higher order function called sum. Sum means that if we can find something inside this array, if it does, it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So this sum function will automatically return a boolean which satisfies the if statement. And if cart value sum, let's say for each product inside our cart, we do a looping. Let's say product dot id triple equals to the item's id that we passed in over here. If that's the condition, if it's true, we're going to return. Return means that we're going to escape out of this function and do not allow the user to add the same item again, because that item ID has already been found in our existing shopping cart. Otherwise, we're going to do adding, and we will say that cart.value .push, and push, just a standard array push method. We're going to push that item to add into our existing cart. Alright, so that's what it is, and we saved it. And so far what I want to do is just to console.log that cart, and to see if it's working. And right above we must put in this function over here. So whenever the user click on it, and we will say add click we're going to say handle add to cart, and we're going to put in that item. All right. So to prevent that auto page loading, we will say stop dot prevent, like so. So when the user click on this add button, the item will be added to our shopping cart. If the same ID, basically means we have added before, it won't be added again. And now let's go back. I'm just going to refresh the page. Already I opened up the console, so we'll say this one is 2, choose a red, add to cart. As you can see, this one has shown that cart. Maybe I want to show the cart value, not inside cart. So do it again, refresh, red to, here we go. Now we have that proxy array of the cart, and then inside this cart you can see this one item being added, which is the one that we have just did with a quantity of 2 and with the color chose the 2, the one that we just chose. Okay, but if I want to add this one again, just click on the add button, and you will see on the console nothing actually happens because the same item which will not be allowed to add twice. All right, but if I change this one to maybe product number 2, and then let's see, we add it, and now it's a new one has been added, and I go back to the home page, say for example this one, add again. As you can see, now our cart array got 2 items in it. One is the product number 2, the other one is product number 1. If I try to add this one again, nothing's going to happen. So only the different product are allowed to add to the shopping cart. The same one, you can change the quantity over here, but you cannot add it twice. All right, so that's how we done it. So pretty much so far we have done this one. Let me remove the console, and we actually, every time we add a new item into the cart, we update the global variable of the shopping cart. So once the global variable of the shopping cart gets updated, every component, every layer in your app can access that cart value and present it again on your DOM. Okay, that's how the things works. So far we have created our product detailed page, which is this one. So we have our home. If you can go to the detailed page, or you can use the cart, the item cart. You can go to that detailed page as well, and we have triggered this function. The next job is going to create our shopping cart page, so we can load the item in the shopping cart in a table and work out how much the user has to pay. Let's jump in and do it now. So to create that cart page, we first have to create a new route for the cart. So what I'm going to do is to copy this one. This is the easiest way. And then down here I will create a new route. I will call it /cart and give a new name called cart. And we're going to need to create a new view as well for the cart. So inside our view folder, so what we're going to do is to create a new file, and we call it cart view.view, like so. And then we're just going to initialize a view template. So we delete this one, and we delete this one. So the script, we're going to make a composition API, put in the setup, and then this one we're just going to say scoped. So something like so. And then here we're just going to create a h1 tag and call it a cart view. Yeah. So once we have that, we can put it back. So here we say cart view. Yep. So the automatic importing is not working so far. So what I'm going to do is to manually import this one at above. So cart view from at views / cart view dot view. Yep, like so. So now we have created that thing successfully. And then we're going back to our app and just going to the cart. As you can see, this one has been hidden by the side menu, but we can see the view there. Basically means that this page has been successfully created. All the things inside our index.js file in the router is working. So we close this off. That's pretty much all the pages we're going to have. And then the next thing to do is that we're going to the cart view to create our template. So here inside this cart view, we're pretty much going to build a table that shows the details of the shopping cart item. So what I'm going to do, delete the original one. And over here, I just say a new class is going to be given to this one. And we want to call it a shopping cart. And we want to conditionally rendering this shopping cart because maybe the user didn't add any item into our shopping cart, and this shopping cart is empty, so we have to conditionally rendering the shopping cart table. Therefore, we say that we're going to render this one by condition depending on if the cart array is empty or not. So to check the cart array, what we're going to do here is that first we load our cart array data from our global cart variable, and it's the same logic as before. So what we do is that we create a new variable called cart, and that one is going to be a ref. So we import that from view, and we use that inject hook to take the global variable cart. As you remember, that this one has been created as a global variable in our main file, main.js, and now we're just going to consume that global variable over here, and make sure your inject gets imported above. And once you've done that, we will have our cart ready. So the next thing to do is to check if our cart is empty or not. So here we do the conditionally rendering. We use a v-if, and we check the length of that cart. If that length is greater than 0, basically what it means is that we do have something inside our cart array, and we're going to render that in a table format, right? But alternatively, if the user haven't added anything into our shopping cart, we're supposed to show that your shopping cart is empty. So in that way, we create a new one just down below, div shopping cart, and this one going to be v-else. Else, we're going to show a container, and inside the container we're going to have a row, margin to top 5, and here we say h1, your cart is empty. Yeah, that basically means that you have an empty shopping cart. So this is a v-if, v-else. It's like a conditionally rendering. If the length is greater than 0, we show the above template. Otherwise, we show this shopping cart empty template. That's what it is for. And now let's go back to the original template and start to build it. So inside the shopping cart, all the table must be wrapped by the container anyway. So we're going to use the bootstrap thing. So this is going to be container, and inside the container we'll have that row. And inside that row, we'll have a table, a bootstrap table, responsive, like so. So now inside this responsive, we're going to have that table. So what I'm going to do is just quickly set up the structure of that table. And inside here, we will have a table with a class name. Some of the class names are customized, some of them are bootstrap class name. I'm just going to copy and paste in these three. Table borders, line middle, these are bootstrap class name, but the shopping cart table is my customized class name. So we wrap everything inside a table tag, and then the next thing is just going to add it in the head of the table. The head is quite long, so I put it in like this. Inside the table head, we'll have the number, the preview image, the product itself, that's the name, the color that has been chosen, the price, quantity, discount, payment, and a delete button, something like so. And then after the head, we're going to have is a table body, so we say t body. And inside the table body, we're going to show the line item one by one. However, this is going to be an ideal place where you create a separate component. Say for example, a cart item, so to load the row of that shopping cart item. So inside the component folder, we create a cart item, view, enter, and then view in it. We create a template like so. So we delete this one and make this one a composite API. So we say setup, and also we'll make this one a scoped CSS file, something like so, quite standard. So, oops, I accidentally closed that off, so I reopen it. So now let's just jump in, do a bit of a programming to that cart item before we go back to the parents component, because essentially all the shopping cart item will be mapped into this cart item. These are just table rows, alright? So let's just jump in. First, we're gonna create a new div. We'll give it a class name. So we say class name shop cart item, like so. And then after that, all the things must be wrapped inside here. And you know, in the parents component, what will happen is that when we do the mapping, it's going to be in a for loop. We loop through all the cart item into this cart item component. So here we will say cart item close that off. So because we use this one, we have to import it down here and say cart item, like so. It looks like it gave me the wrong name again, so something like that. Cart item from the component cart item.view, that has no problem. So once we've done that, we're going back. Here we're going to do a for loop, so v4, and inside this v4, we're actually going to use the item and the index, both of them, in our cart array. Okay, for each of the item inside our cart array, and we're going to have a key to bind it. We have our key binded to the let's say item ID, because each item will have a unique ID, right? And then we need to pass this entire item as a property to the child component cart item. So we say we bind the property item, and that one equals to, and the property, this one, item. Okay, and what's the index for? The index is actually, when you go to the cart item, it actually has the number, this one. You have to show the number, which one the item is in the position in the array. So we're going to pass in that index to show the position of the item inside the array. So we create a new property called index, and we pass in that index value. So all the things must be passed in properly to the child component. And we have the property like index and item. The key is just for uniquely identify each cart item. It's not an actual property that we're going to use. And now we finalize the parents part. So to go to the child component, what we're going to do, since we have used all of those property, here inside the script, we must register those property. So we say props, and that one going to define props, and we're using that curly braces to wrap all the props item. And we say type, that one equals to object, and that's going to be a required equals to true, and below that index, and that one type is going to be a number because it is a number, and then if it's required, and that is going to be a true. So now we have our property defined over here, and the next job is to use this two property to load our shopping cart table at above. Actually, instead of using a div, what I'm going to do is to change this one to a tr. That's going to be the table row, because if you look at the previous one, everything here must be wrapped inside a table body, and table body contains all the rows, right? So here we start from a table row to wrap it up. And inside this table row, we're just gonna key in all the row items. So we're gonna have a th and give a scope of row. And this one, we're gonna load the item number. The item number is based on their index plus 1, because the index always starts from 0. So we manually add on 1. And the second row, the second column, if not sure what it is, you can look at here. The second column is going to be a preview, which is the preview image. So here we say td, and we inside the td we wrap our image of the preview, and we're gonna bind our source to the item dot image URL, and we probably want to give a class name to this one as a image fluid, so that it will be automatically responsive. And the next row, I'll create a new td, and that is going to be the product name. The product name, we're going to use a router link, because we'll allow the user to go back to their detailed page. So we say router link, and inside here we're just gonna bind our two using template literal to the dynamic routes. So we say product money sign double curly braces, and we dynamically inject the item ID. And here in the between the anchor tag, we're gonna load the item's name. Okay, so that's another row we have done. The next one, the next column is going to be the color. So what we do, we create a new td, and this one we're going to use the bootstrap icon to load the dots. Previously we're going to use the span, but here we can use a bootstrap icon. So I put in the bootstrap icon, which is going to be the recall dots. However, we want to show this one in a dynamic color based on the user selection. how we're going to do it, we bind the inline styling. So here we say style. We're going to bind it to color colon item dot color. So in that way, the bootstrap icon, we use this inline styling to handle the font color of the bootstrap icon. Okay, and the next one is going to be a TD. We're going to show the price of the item. So we say item dot price dot to fixed, and we want to keep 2 decimal places as well. So that's going to be the price. And then the next column is going to be our quantity. So quantity, is item dot quantity, like so. And what's the next one? Price, quantity, discount, payment, and remove. Okay, so the next one is going to be our discount. So we say item dot discount. Oops. Discount, lower cases, and we're gonna time it by 100 and give a percentage sign at the end to make it look formal. And the next one is going to be our price after discount, which is going to be the payment. So we create a new row, new column called TD, and that one is going to be the same kind of a method that we used before, which used the original price times the quantity times the minus discount, and then keep 2 decimal places. So it's quite long. I copy and paste in, and the math works in the way that this is the unit price, this is the quantity, that's going to be your total payment. However, because you have that percentage discount, we times 1 minus item discount to give you the payment of the discount, and we keep 2 decimal places. That's how it works. Okay, so we have that done. And the last column is going to be our remove button. So here we're going to use a anchor tag, and inside this anchor tag, we're just going to put in some bootstrap icon, which is going to be a garbage bin. So we put in this rubbish bin here, and then later on we're going to add a on-click events to trigger the delete events for this item from the cart array. But so far we're all good. We already be able to see all the features inside each column. All right. So that's the mapping. We map that item, all the cart item into this. Yep, that looks all good to me now. And the next one, what I'm going to do is just to add in some CSS for this cart page, so it will look more decent on a DOM. And here we copy and paste. It's all very standard stuff. Give a margin to the bottom, and also make sure that your table row has the margin to the bottom as well. This is all the settings for the tables, the columns, and rows, everything. Okay, so this is gonna be all good. Oops, looks like I put it into the wrong position. Sorry. This one is the cart item CSS. Yeah, as you can see, this is a shop cart item. This is a shop cart item. So everyone's only belong to that specific component. Don't place in the wrong place. Yeah, something like that. And for the cart view, I'm also going to paste in our CSS setting. So, like so. We have our shopping cart, give a certain margin to bottom, make a minimum height. And also for the table, we want to have a bit of margin to the top, and also put a box shadow so it can stand out from the rest. And for each row, we just make sure we standardize the font size and color. And for if you look at the original, if you go to cart, you will see we have this total item and the total amount of payment. Down the bottom, we haven't got to build those yet, but I put in the CSS already, like so. This is for the payment button, right? And it's responsive on the different screen size. So far, I just want to see if we do have our page. Yeah, our page is ready. As you can see, your cart is empty. And if we're going back and we check this out, we choose the blue color, we make a 2 quantity, we add, and if we now go to our cart, as you can see, this thing has been correctly loaded, but the image size isn't correct. Maybe something wrong with our CSS. Let me just double check. So, going back to the editor. Yeah, double checked. It turns out there's no error. I reload the page and the image works in the correct size already. Okay, so we're going back to the home. We add a new one, this one, add to the cart, and we go to the cart. As you can see, 2 items has been successfully added to our shopping cart. So this is all working. And even we're going back, we're trying to add this one again. We click multiple times, and once we go to our cart, and you will see this one cannot be added twice. It's only one time can be added. And if we click on the product name, it takes us to the same detailed page as well. Okay, so that's how it works. We've done that. That looks all beautiful to me, but haven't finished yet. The next thing is to add on a total numbers of item counter down the bottom, and we need to work out a total payment down the bottom. All right. So how do we do that? It's supposed to be created in the cart view. So just below that table, we just need to keep building it. So over here, this one, below our tables row, this is our tables row, right? The first row. Below our tables row, we create a new row. Here I just put in the code straight away because it's quite simple. And what it does is that we have a new row which loads the total item, which is going to be our cart length, because the cart length is going to count how many items inside our array, right? And then this one here, we're gonna create a local state variable called total, and we show that in the total amount. And then we add on this checkout button here, right? So down below, in our JavaScript, we have to do more jobs. One of the jobs is to handle the total. And the way to do so is that we are going to have the function. So we say handle total payment. So we write a new function, which is also going to be an arrow function. And inside here, we want to calculate the value inside our cart and work out how much they're going to add up in total. It's a very long chained method, but it's a very good practice of all the many JavaScript higher order array function I'll show you. So we say we want to map through our cart value, because that's going to be each element, each object inside our cart. Okay, first we're going to map it. The reason we map it is because we want to find out the final payment for each item. Alright, how do we find out the final payment for each? We say for each item we want to get the item price times the item quantity and times 1 minus item.discount. Right, something like so. So now after this line, after this map, what you will get is the like the net payment for each line item, each item inside the array. Okay, and our next job is to add them up together. How do we add them up together? We use something called a reduce. Reduce is another JavaScript higher order array function. It will allow you to accumulate the value inside the array. Because what this map does is that it will in the end return us with an array, an array that contains all the net payment of each item. And that's going to be an array of integer or array of float. Alright, and then here we're just going to use that reduce one to return the things that we want. And the reduce one comes with the accumulator, so we say accumulator, and also a current value, like so. It's also going to be an arrow function. We use that accumulator plus that current value, and then you have to set up the initial value for the accumulator, which is going to be 0. So everything is going to be building from 0. And the way it works, I'll show you one example. Say for example you have one array, and inside it you have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, something like this. It starts from 0, and what this line does is it's gonna calculate 0 plus 1 equals 1, and then 1 plus 2 equals 3, 3 plus 4 equals 7, 7 plus 5 equals 12, and 12 plus 6 equals 18. That's what it does. It's gonna keep accumulating the addition inside your array. That's what it does. And once you've done that, you will have your total payment. However, not yet finished, because it's gonna be a float number. So we're gonna keep the 2 decimal place as well. And all the things has been done in this chained job. First we map the net payment for each one and put them into a new array, and then we do the reducing to add them up all together. And then in the end, what we're gonna do is that we'll create a new value, or we're just gonna return it to be simple. Yep. So in the end, we're just gonna return the result of that. Okay. And how do we have these things rendered on the DOM? Very simple. Outside we create a variable called total. It's going to be the data, and this data is going to be the return of this handle total payment. So we say handle total payment, we call that function. That's all. Alright, so this total over here, is going to be this total, and this total is going to be the handle total payment right above. Alright, so now we've done it, and we're going back. As you can see, this thing has been popped on the DOM. Now we have 2 items inside our shopping cart. These 2 amounts add up together equals to $2,219.05. Alright, so that's all correct. One last thing to do to finalize the shopping cart is going to be this delete button. We want to remove item out of the shopping cart as well when the user doesn't want it. So, and the way to do so, we have to trigger this delete function inside our cart item script, which is over here. So we write a new function. Here we say const handle remove from cart, which is going to be a new array, a new arrow function, but we do need to know the target because we need to know which one to remove. So we pass in the parameter, and here the first thing we're going to do is that we need to find the index of that target item inside our current cart array. So we say let index equals to cart.value and .index of. So this is the JavaScript standard function to find the index of the item inside the array, okay? And because we're going to use the cart array, we have to import it at the very beginning over here. It's going to be the global variable. We'll use it, we're going to import it. So we say const cart, and that one equals to ref import. And then here inside it, we say inject import. And then we want the cart. Okay, so now you can have the access to the cart and find the index of it. So once you find the index, the next job is just going to be removing it. So we say cart.value.splice. We use the JavaScript method called splice, and here we're just going to pass in the index. Splice is the remove method. As long as you tell the JavaScript which index the item is, it will remove that one for you. 1 basically means that the first time we encounter it, we're going to remove it. So that's it. That's very simple handling of removing item from the shopping cart. And we're just going to trigger this function when the user click on it. So here at the anchor tag, we say onClicked, which is at click. And we're going to add on stop sign, stop, and prevent to prevent the default behavior. And we say handle remove from cart. And we need to pass in that item to be able to make this work. And that's all. Alright, so it's quite simple. Now if we're going back to our app, let's try. I remove this one, as you can see, that's gone, and I remove this one, that's gone, everything's gone. And since the cart has been cleared out, so we have an empty cart, this one will show, alright, instead of a shopping cart. So that's pretty much it. Right, we have our product item cart all done. So this one we get to see it, we make it, we want to buy 2, we add to the cart, and then we go to the banner page, and we see that wow, this blue one is really cool, and we want to check it out. And when we choose the blue color, add it to the cart, and then we'll go to cart. As you can see, that's the 2 items we just chosen with this total amount of payment. And if you want to remove it, absolutely you can. It's all handy. One more thing I want to do is that we need to change this one dynamically as well to indicate how many items do we have in the cart. Okay. And remember, we built this one in our first session as a separate component, and that thing is called cart button. All right. Previously, we just manually key in that cart button, but now we can actually access our global cart array to know the length of that one. So the way is quite simple. Here we just say we call that cart, and that's going to be a ref. And then inside the ref, we also inject our cart. So now you will have the cart. And here you're just going to dynamically show we want the cart.length. Like so. So now you can put it in dynamically, and if you go there, your cart is empty. This one shows 0, as you can see. And then if you add a few more things, pay attention to this green corner. We add, as you can see, there's 1 item inside the cart, and going to it, you guys will see this one item left in the cart, right? Remove it, that one go back to 0. Magical, right? So all good, so far that's all good. Pretty much I have demonstrated the main structure of this application. The remaining things actually going to be quite simple, and we're going to add one more a side icon over here and showing to the user. Even though I scroll up, the user wouldn't be able to see how many items you have in the cart, right? And how many ways that you can access your shopping cart? One is to click on this icon. The other one is that you can actually add one over here to your shopping cart and to allow the user to go to. And when the user scroll down and the header goes hidden, you can add a shopping cart icon on the side. So we can do it now. So to add on that side button, and what we're going to do is create a new component inside our component folder. So go to our component folder. Here we have a new file, and we call it cart button loader.view, like so. And then we're just gonna initialize it, view init. It's actually quite simple. It's just a loader that wraps our cart button. Because the cart button itself has been used on the header as well, we couldn't just directly put it into this position. We need a new wrapper to handle the position of this cart button. That's what it's wrapper for. Okay, so now we delete that language, and this one we do need this default. We're gonna make it a setup, and also the style, and we want to make it a scoped as well. So inside this template is actually quite easy, but the problem is we need to know when to show this side button. If you look at it, the original one, only when you scroll up a bit, and this one gets to show, and when the header pops out, this one got hidden. So the appearance of this side icon is depending on the scroll position of the page. How do we get a scroll position of the page? So that's going to be using the unmounted to grab the scroll position. So what we say, we set up a local variable called scroll, and that one equals to ref, and we set up to 0 initially, and then unmounted, that one is going to be a arrow function. Oops. And inside here we want to get the scroll position reset based on our scroll behavior of the window. So we say window dot add events listener, and inside here we're gonna know the events is going to be the scroll events, and once it's listened, we're going to trigger the function. And here we want to set the local scroll value to window.scroll y, like so. So when there's a scroll behavior on the window, the vertical scroll position will be reassigned to our local scroll position. That's all. All right. So how come our script gets removed off? So we're supposed to have the script. Okay. So now I add it back, and it's going to have a setup, like so. Oh, it's there. Sorry. We shouldn't have this one. Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much all we need to do to have this one done. And inside the above, what we're going to do here is just create a loader template. So with a class, we call it a cart button loader, and we want to set up an active class based on the scroll position. All right. So we say append the class to the scroll position is going to be active when the scroll position is greater than 100. Basically means that when the user scroll down to 100 on the vertical, and we're going to show the active class name, right? And inside this wrapper, we're going to put in our cart button. So we say cart button. This one we have built it in our first session over here. Because we use it, we must import it. Cart button, like so. So now everything's good. The next job is just going to put in our final CSS to make sure it looks all decent. So inside our styling, put in the CSS. It's going to make the loader position fixed in the middle and to the right, and then border radius 50% with our theme color background, and everything gets aligned in the middle. Originally it's going to be hidden. When it's on active, we're going to show it. That's all. Alright. So, and also add a hover effects. That's the logic. So once we have the cart button loader, we're going to add it onto our template of the app. So below that main, we're going to say cart button loader, like so. Let's see if we can auto import. Yeah, it looks it can. So we have that cart button loader imported correctly, and we're going to our app. As you can see, this one has been successfully added. And when we go to the top, that one disappear, added on, disappear, all good. Okay, so when we on a different page, say for example we add this one to the cart, that one changes. Even we go back to the home page, as you can see, that still stay, and there's the same cart button that loads that we have one item in the shopping cart. We click on it, we go to the shopping cart, we remove it, we got no problem. Okay. Yep, that's pretty much the wrap up the entire application. I know this is not the complete one. If you do want to have the complete project, you can go to my online shop and support me a bit. Otherwise, the remaining bit is going to be quite simple. I have shown you the most challenging part of this project. If you want to finalize it, the remaining bit is just going to be quite standard. You can do it yourself. And do you have any questions or anything you want to examine further, leave a comments down below. I'm more than happy to answer all of those. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next session to show you a more exciting project. Bye for now.